Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, building experiences that connect, remove friction, and deliver insights. Well, hi everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Julian Schrenzel. Julian is the president and CEO of DyNexus Recruiting and Staffing and has a mission to change people's lives by solving the staffing shortage in the mid-market ERP industry. DyNexus is the engine behind proactive sourcing for Sage Intacct, a program exclusively for Sage partners that connects qualified, vetted, interested candidates with hiring managers across the Sage Intacct partner channel. Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, Julian.
Thank you, Ed.
Well, first off, why do you do what you do?
Well, the reason is because what I do is done really poorly by a lot of people across the world. Like when you think about hiring, you think about using recruiters, very often you kind of go into the same camp as like buying a car from like the corner used car lot. Like they're pushy, they're opportunistic, and that is not the way it should be done. Because when you make a hire wrong, it's extremely expensive to make that mistake for a number of reasons. And so I think this industry, every business, but especially the mid-market industry like us, the partners who have to put in everything to make themselves thrive and make it work well, the last thing they should be worrying about is if that person they thought was great is really going to be caustic for their company. So having a better way to do recruiting and hiring is my mission.
But tell me more about proactive sourcing for Sage Intacct.
Sure. So proactive sourcing for Sage Intacct is a program that we developed. To my knowledge, there's no other recruiting company in the world that has a model that is anything like it. And really what it is it is a partnership. We have a collaborative partnership with Sage, the publisher, to be able to provide high quality candidates at a very, very reasonable cost to their partners. And the reason that it all makes sense is because when the partner channel of a publisher thrives, then it means more sales, more delivery of a product, which all rolls up to the mothership. So it is in the publisher's best interest to have a partner channel that is thriving and that has a very good way to hire and retain great talent that they need to be the workforce of tomorrow. That is what this program does. Because you may know from working with others, if you ever worked with a recruiter before, and especially in a technology channel, the way a lot of recruiting works in a tech channel is a recruiter comes in and goes to a Sage Intacct partner and goes and finds a job and fills that role. But then by learning about that Sage Intacct partner, they learn about another Sage Intacct partner in their work. So they say, hey, we're Sage Intacct recruiters, and they'll take someone from the place they placed and they'll put him with the new one. And then this person needs a new Sage Intacct partner, so they take one from here and put him there. So it's kind of like they're taking from Peter to pay Paul, and what it eventually does is it internally rots an entire partner channel. And over time, not only does nobody have who they need because everybody's taking from everybody else through a recruiter, but it rots the trust that is that friendly, competitive trust between partners to where they can't collaborate because they don't like each other, because they're scared of each other taking each other's people, and everybody's on the defensive. And it's all due to a recruiter who's being opportunistic and stealing from each one of them to give to the other. So this program takes from outside of the channel, but we do all of the work, vetting, and interviewing and presenting them on our website for all the partner channel, for all the channel Sage partners, to no obligation. They can go to the website and look at our candidates. And there is a pool of candidates with locations, how much their compensation needs are, what their expertise are, what their focus is, what the industries they serve, how long they've served, whether they want to be remote or travel a lot or a little. And they can figure it all out. And then they can say, click, I want to interview that person. We get that. And then we can set them up immediately directly into an interview loop, all the way through job offer and negotiation of job offer. We can be assisting in that way, all the way to a successful placement. And each placement comes with a 120-day, 4-month guarantee, where if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, they can either request a refund of the fee that they pay, or they can have us hire another person from the program without any additional fee. And speaking of fee, rather than charging 25% of a base salary, which these days most people who are worth their salt are at $100K or more in salary. So rather than paying $25,000 to $30,000 per hire, the fee they pay is a one-time fee of $12,000 per hire. So it cuts well over half of the cost, and it includes every bit of the quality. That's the program.
That sounds great. In fact, you've anticipated just about every single one of my questions to the point where I don't have a follow-up per se on this, and I think you did a great job explaining it. So instead, I'm going to ask you something that is more observational of the hiring landscape right now that I think is of interest to a lot of our listeners, and that is, what are the challenges with people post-COVID with the remote versus in-person versus willing to travel type employees? So what are you seeing there?
If you were to ask me the same question before February 2020, I would tell you that, it's probably half and half, maybe a little bit more that people want people on site, or at least they want them to be regional. They want them in the Southeast region or something. COVID utterly changed that on its head, right? Right now, we are filling no roles that require someone to be in a specific area. Everything we are doing is all remote. And oftentimes it's remote international, not necessarily international off the North American continent, but US, Canada is very common for candidates to clients who are hiring to require someone from anywhere in the US or Canada. So COVID has played a major factor in that. And it's partly because candidates, they can get remote jobs, right? If you're going to get paid X amount of money to work wherever you are, or have to relocate your entire family and uproot your kids from school and uproot your family from church and from the organizations and community, chances are you're not going to do that. And companies know that. They're just not able to find the talent they need when they need them to be in a specific area these days.
Yeah, I definitely see that that's the case in also the accounting profession, where I do a lot of work as well, that's a similar concern. So, well, Julian, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours, and why are they a hero?
So, are you familiar with Yvon Chouinard? He is the owner of Patagonia. Patagonia, the clothing store,
yes.
Mountain clothing and hiking clothing. You may have seen recently in the New York Times and other places, he and his family just gave the company away. It's a $2 billion company. And they put it into a trust that will fund nonprofit organizations that are fighting to make change in the climate and to fight global climate catastrophe. And he recently, he gave, it's $2 billion. He gave billions of dollars away, no strings attached, but of course in a trust that will go to the right place. And I thought that was just so freaking cool that a billionaire would give away all that money to do something that's good for us all, for the planet.
And lastly, Julian, how can somebody contact you?
So they can reach me, if you want to reach me by email. I am at Julian S, which is JULIANS, at DyNexusGroup.com, which is DyNexusGroup.com. My direct phone number is 206-466-1342. And if you want to take a look at any of the programs we have, recruiting programs, staffing programs, proactive sourcing programs, and it's all on our website, which can be found at DyNexusGroup.com.
And we will put a link in the description to the proactive sourcing for Sage Intacct, so you can just click on that below. Julian Schrenzel, President and CEO of DyNexus Recruiting and Staffing, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thanks so much, Ed.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.